Hi, my name is Jessica Rosenstraw, and this is my personal goals. So, to begin, let's talk about a little bit about me. So, I've a military wife of 22 years. My husband has been in the Army for 22 years now, so I've been following him around. We have four kiddos, college age, all the way down to elementary school. Our favorite place to live is Colorado. I particularly love Colorado Springs. I love the beach, the mountains. I love exercising, and I like being with my family. I received my bachelor's in elementary education back in 1999 from Purdue University. I took a break. I taught for a little bit, and then between having kids and the deployments that were happening, I took a hiatus off of teaching and just kind of focused on my family as well as my husband's soldiers, their families and stuff, and really being supportive in the military community. When I finally decided to go back into teaching, I looked around and found Fort Hays and decided to get my master's in reading as a reading specialist. I graduated in the spring of 2017. And then by that point, I had been working as a coach, and I decided to go ahead and get my endorsement in leadership as well. And so I will be finishing that up in the spring of 2021. Why did I choose to go into leadership? Well, I wanted to be a teacher, I guess, since I was like 6 or 7. And when I was in high school, college, I decided that eventually, once I taught for many years, I'd probably like to see the administrative side as well. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind. My first job was out in Colorado Springs. It was in a very low income, high minority area in Colorado Springs. 90% of our kiddos were free and reduced lunch. 90% or higher were minorities. So it was a very eye-opening experience from coming from the Midwest and being teaching in a school like this. None of my kids that came to be in 3rd grade could read. And so that was very eye-opening to me. And I watched my boss, who I had huge respect for, I watched her struggle trying to raise her 3 girls and balancing being a mom and wife, as well as being an administrator. And at that point, I thought, I don't know if I really want to do that. So I switched gears and said when I went back to get my master's, I would become a reading specialist. Then when I went back to Colorado Springs back in 2015, my old boss hired me again, and she made me a reading coach. And so I really worked with the teachers, and I saw the whole administrative side. She kind of pulled me in, and we did a lot. I worked with student teachers. I hired people. I did a lot, had a lot of the responsibilities as an administrator, and she kind of renewed my interest in becoming an administrator. And so that's when I decided, okay, I need to go back after I get this master's degree and get my endorsement in leadership. And so she's been my mentor forever. So that's when I decided that I was going to come back and get my endorsement in leadership. As well as I saw a lot of the district jobs, you have to have a leadership endorsement or degree. So that was really my motivation to coming back and getting this leadership endorsement. Looking at my personal goals. So let's first look at the 1 to 5 years. So because we're military, we move every couple of years. We're fortunate enough to be stationed down here in Georgia for 3. So we have about 2 more years down here. And then our goal is to hopefully move back to Colorado Springs. That's really where we would like to end up. And so just really, for me personally, I just really want to be here for my family. Moving down to Georgia was kind of a shock and a rough transition. It's great to be a family again, but it's definitely, it's not Colorado. So just really supporting my family, being here. And then as we transition from the military life to the civilian life, really helping support not only, myself, but really being there for my husband and kiddos during that. We also want to move back to Colorado. So in no later than 5 years, we definitely should be back in Colorado. And then personally, another big goal of mine is just to really continue on that healthy journey and lifestyle and exercising and being active. In 6 to 10 years and beyond, so really, I want to help our kids get through high school into the colleges they want. I really want to be involved in our community wherever we put down roots. It's really important to me. I grew up in a very small town, and so I really want to give back to the community. Being a military spouse, when you live on post and stuff, you do that, or you have the opportunities to. And so I really want to do that when we transition into the civilian life and really be there in the community and be supportive. Long-term goals we have are we want a condo in the mountains and a condo on the beach. And so that's really important. So probably definitely 10 years to 15 years, we're going to have both of those is our goal. And then again, staying active and healthy. My husband's very into running, and I'm getting back into it again. And so just really maintaining that and staying active and traveling around and seeing our kids wherever they land is kind of our goals. Professionally, so let's look at the first 1 to 5 years from now. So I'd really like to, the next couple of years down here in Georgia, get back into the education. I took this year off just because of the move and COVID and everything. I really wanted to be very supportive for my family. So I'd like to get a job down here in the school or at the district level. I'd prefer to work my goal is to really work as a reading specialist or a coach, or even trying to get one of the district jobs that they have available, just to see another side of education that I haven't already experienced. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, and I'll know more as we roll into the spring, what's available and what I can do down here. When we move back to Colorado, my goal is to become an assistant principal in one of the school districts I've worked in, or an instructional coach. There's several, about five different school districts in Colorado Springs or nearby. And so really working either as getting an assistant principal job or becoming an instructional coach at a district level. That's kind of, those two jobs really appeal to me when we move back to Colorado. And then again, making sure I have a positive impact in the school and district that I work in are my professional goals. 6 to 10 plus years, I'd really like to put my roots down. So I'm really hoping that wherever I land when I move back to Colorado Springs, I can kind of stay there until I retire. In 15 years, I want to retire. So I definitely would love to, especially 10 years, just really put down some roots and stay in one school district and make an impact there. Eventually, I've looked at and thought of seriously about looking at the college level. When I was a coach, I worked with a lot of the student teachers. And so that side appeals to me as well. And so maybe looking at working at UCCS or CC there at the end before I move into the retirement. And then 15 years from now, we would really love to be retired and splitting our time between the mountains and the beach. So why did I choose Fort Hays State University? So when I started researching for my master's, I had come across an article about Fort Hays State University in the U.S. News, and it rated it very highly. It was cost efficient, and it just clicked. It really appealed to me. And so those two were, very kind of led the way for me to applying for my master's. I really loved the class flexibility when I was in working on my master's. And so when I transitioned to getting the endorsement in leadership, I decided the class flexibility just worked. And so it just kind of all made sense to me to just continue with Fort Hays since I had gotten my master's from you all. It just made sense to just continue on and get my endorsement in leadership from you. And my expectations. So the expectations, I loved all the professors I've had already. I thought that they were great at, they were just there for you and supportive and helped teach, helped guide me along the way. And so knowing that from coming from getting my master's, it was an easy transition into the leadership endorsement. The success rate is really high and the expectations. So I just really thought that this would be a great place for me to do. And I guess, expectations wise, it worked out well. I had to take a lot of breaks because my husband and I were apart for about 2.5 years due to the military. And so being a full-time mom and teaching full-time, trying to squeeze in classes was really, really tough. And so, but at the end, it all worked out. And so it's been a great experience, and I'm going to finish up here in the spring, hopefully. Thank you so much.